So, Parlor Games. We play them with friends, and that's what the name is for. But nowadays, you probably just hear that name be used in a TV show and movie that takes place in the 1800s, or something like that. It's like a fancy word for board games. It's just basically it. But we'll be getting into the American side of those games with America's favorite parlor games from Daily Life section in Story of America cards. A parlor game is a group of games that are played indoors. They are often played in the parlor, a type of reception room or public space where people of the house meet with visitors and stuff like that. And they were mainly played by upper and middle class people. In the Victorian era, that era was sometimes considered the golden age of parlor games. During the 19th century, the upper and middle classes had more leisure time to play these games than the people of previous generations. From the earliest colonial times, Americans have derived fun, relaxation, and mental stimulation from a wide variety of so-called parlor games. Whether they be played merely to pass the time on a rainy day, or competitive battles of wits, games have provided Americans with make-believe adventures and challenges. One of the oldest and most popular games of all is checkers. Many believe that it derived from chess as far back in the Middle Ages. The modern game, which was fully called darts, was codified by the English mathematic William Payne in 1756. By the early 19th century, the game had been introduced successfully into the US, and today it claims the attention of millions of players. Another game that arrived early in America is dominoes. Although Chinese first played this with flat blocks covered with white dots, they were mainly used as substitutes for dice. The modern game, as we know it, was developed in France and Italy sometime in the 18th century, then spread eventually to the US. The game Mahjong was imported from China in the 1920s, played with 136 tiles drived into different sets of pictures and colors. It became an important part of Chinese social life. Indeed, many important business deals were completed when marriages arranged over a mahjong board. In America, the game was played mostly by women and became far and away the most popular game of its time. Then in 1933, a great event in board game history took place. Charles Darrow of Germantown, Pennsylvania, invented a game that included money, tiny models of houses and hotels, and a set of dice, and a special card with instructions on them. The places names of Darrow's board, were all taken from real places in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where Darrow always went on vacation. The game was called Monopoly. It tested each player's ability to prove himself an inspiring and sometimes ruthless capitalist. Dower sold this game in 1935 to Parker Brothers, and it became America's most popular game. Since World War II, the game market has given tremendously as Americans have experienced an increase in leisure time. As a result, science fiction, history, and politics have also been translated into exciting and novel game forms. Some of the game marketers are now experiencing concepts that involve cooperation, non-cutthroat competition. And these were parlor games in America, and what parlor games mean. I hope you enjoyed the history of parlor games in America, and I'll see you next time in another history card.